Okay, hi, I'm Patrick. My topic was violence in video games. In the news a couple years ago, there was a 18-year-old guy named Devin Moore who killed 3 police officers, and in his court case, his lawyers said one of the reasons he did it was because of the game Grand Theft Auto, and it was because he played the game that he killed people. So that brings me to my proposition that violence in video games with zero to minimal influence on a normal child being more prone to committing a violent act. And my secondary supporting claims are those who attribute games to crime would have committed who blame their crimes on the game would have committed the crime without playing the video game. My second one is violent video games have failed to produce an increase in violence. My third is there are problems with the studies showing aggression after playing a violent video game. And back to my first claim. Devin Moore, he claimed that his lawyers claimed, this is according to MSNBC, that Grand Theft Auto and his childhood abuse caused him to kill 3 small-town police officers. And it said the Grand Theft Auto and childhood abuse. And then I went and researched childhood abuse, and I found that there's that children who are abused when they're a child are more likely to commit a violent crime, and that's according to Science magazine. And then my second claim, violent video games that has failed to produce an increase in violence. Juvenile violent crime in the U.S. is at a 30-year low, according to the public broadcasting station. And the majority, so more and more kids are playing video games every year. So if violent video games caused violence, we'd see more people committing crimes, and crimes at a low right now. And 64% of Americans have played a game in the past 6 months, which kind of specifies the point I just made. And I couldn't find any research showing that violent games make people kill people. I didn't find any. And on to my third point, that there are problems with the studies showing aggression after playing violent games. There was a study done by the American Psychological Association that showed an increase in that showed children had an increase in aggressive behavior after playing a violent game, but they didn't go commit a crime afterwards or anything. And then there was a problem with the research, according to an article by The Economist, the research didn't show the long-term effects. The longest study was a month long, and they didn't focus on the long-term effects. They did it for the short term. And so anyway, in conclusion, there hasn't been an increase in violence because of violent video games. Crime's low, and the studies, even though they've shown an increase in aggression afterwards, they haven't shown an increase in actual acting on the aggression. So kids playing a game isn't that big a deal. Thank you.
Right, the structural stuff at the beginning is pretty solid. You identified the claim and the secondary claims, and also you're doing okay signposting when you were in the speech, although the language is sometimes a little confusing. I think you have a good example to set up the background on the argument, but your first point is just about the one example. In essence, you've showed why the one case couldn't really be attributable just to video games, but I'm not exactly sure that eliminating that one case eliminates the link that you are suggesting has been made on that first point. The second point I thought was phrased in a kind of an awkward way, and that you needed again some better evidence to demonstrate that that point was really valid. You seem to be getting there in a very conclusionary way. I did like the information that you presented in general about video game trends and about crime trends, although I think you could be more specific in citing some of that data. It's a little abstract at the level that you're dealing with. On the third point, you have criticism of one study that wasn't long-term, and so it sounds like that's the only reservation that you have on that particular point. I'm not sure that that shows that no relationship exists. It just means that there might be some particular limitation. And by the way, there might be comparative studies that have found such effects, and they might be applicable in this situation. Other violence, for instance, maybe not video game violence, but violence on TV and those kinds of things might be applicable there. Alright, so the material's a little bit conclusionary. You need to relax and talk to the audience a little bit more. It was a little bit short. Alright, thank you.